Keyframes are how applications like After Effects, Flash, and 3D applications track the movement of your objects. A keyframe is like a snapshot in time. For example, right now when you're watching this video, you're probably sitting down. So if you were to get up, imagine that you sitting down is keyframe 1. So you back up a little bit to get ready to get out of your chair. That's keyframe 2. And when you finally stand up, that's the third keyframe. So when you rewind and play it forward, you now have animation. Now, of course, that's a pretty general explanation, but that's how it works for the most part. The difference between keyframes in a 2D application like After Effects and a 3D application like Modo or Maya or Lightwave is that the interpolation is different. In After Effects, you're moving things around like a box or a circle or a logo, left to right, top to bottom, and in or out. In a 3D application, you put bones inside of geometry so that the computer can interpolate when the fingers curl, when the character smiles, and that kind of thing. So now that we talked about the two different types of keyframing and the two different worlds of animation, let's find out where the keyframes live. So I'm going to create a solid. Of course, he's always going to be our volunteer for things like this. Let's go ahead and resize him a little bit. Now let's say we want to animate one of the properties, which I'll talk more about elsewhere in this section. Let's say I want to move him around. So I want him to go from here to here. I'm going to go to our properties down here. And let me move this up a little bit so we can see them. And I'm going to hit P on my keyboard. This opens up the position property. And we can see some information about where this object is currently inside of our comp. So if I move him around, you'll notice that the numbers change. If I move them up, it changes in Y and left and right on the Z axis. Likewise, if I scrub the hot text, I'm moving on the Z axis when I grab the leftmost number and moving it in the Y in both the negative and positive directions when I scrub the rightmost text here. To animate, all we have to do is turn on the stopwatch because currently nothing is being recorded. So I'm on frame 0 as you see here. I'm going to click on the stopwatch. And now After Effects is ready for animation. But you'll notice that right away, when we hit the stopwatch, we get this little diamond here. This is the keyframe. So we know that After Effects looked at this object, it looked where it is, and it locked down a position. That is the first keyframe. I'll go ahead and move to 15 seconds. And I'm going to just go ahead and move this object. And you see I get a line here. This is our motion path. And I also get another diamond. This is our second keyframe. So if I were to rewind all the way to the beginning and press play, we have animation. I'll go ahead and stop that. So as you can see, it's going to take 15 seconds to get from where it is to where it's going to wind up. But the beautiful thing about keyframes is we can always move them around. So let's say this is taking too long, which of course it is. I'll click on the last keyframe here, and I'll move it over here to 5 seconds. So when I play this animation back again, it should go by much more quickly. And even further. So I'll go ahead and put it right there. Let's rewind again. So the further the keyframes are, the longer something takes to actually animate, and vice versa. We can also do other things with keyframes, by the way. I can go ahead and right-click on a keyframe, and I can edit the value of the keyframe. I can hold a keyframe. A hold is simply telling it to stay put so that you don't have any motion at all, so that you can have it at rest and then put it back on. For example, I'll hold it, and look at the difference in the icon here. We get a little arrow that's pointing to the left. I'll right click, I'll toggle it again, and then it's back to a regular diamond. I'll right click again, and we also have a keyframe assistant. And we can do things like easing in and out, which simply means when the animation starts, does it start quickly and slow down? Or does it start slow and then speed up? Lots of cool things to play around with, and we'll cover more about that later. But for now, I just want to get you used to the concept of keyframes. It's simply a snapshot in time as to the position, the scale, the rotation, and even the opacity of your objects.